If you have been looking for performance-oriented yet lightweight laptops, you've probably heard of the LG Gram series of laptops. Well, today we have both of them right here, specifically the 16-inch variant in the standard LG Gram 16 and the LG Gram 16 2-in-1 hybrid. Now, both laptops are actually spec for spec. Same Intel Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM and half a terabyte of storage. So the only main difference is really design. So let's compare the two and see what's the best suited for you. Now, LG has definitely been expanding their lineup of Gram series of laptops since its very first introduction, and now you get a plethora of them. You can get it from the 13.3-inch all the way up to the light behemoth, the 17-inch. But today we are focusing on the 16 inches, both of them. So now let's first get the similarities out of the way. It goes without saying that both of them will sport a 16-inch IPS display in a 16:10 aspect ratio with a Quad HD resolution coming in at 2560 by 1600 running at 60Hz. A full-size keyboard on either of them, complete with a number pad for all you folks who frequently use one, alongside an equally large trackpad that simply performs great. Up top, you also get a Full HD webcam that looks great and sounds pretty great with Windows Hello support.
Webcam on the Gram 16, webcam on the Hybrid 2-in-1.
Now, to add on, both will also sport pretty much identical dual 1.5 watt stereo speakers which will perform adequately for most scenarios. As for the internals, we are looking at an Intel Core i7 1260p, 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM running in dual channel at 5200MHz, as well as half a terabyte of PCIe Gen 4 SSD storage. Now, both will also sport an 80Wh battery that will easily last you over 10 hours of average use, an excellent battery standby life in sleep mode, barely reducing by even 5% after 24 hours in sleep mode. To end off, both will also come with pretty much the same 65W USB-C charger. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. In fact, some of them aren't really totally similar in that sense. There are slight differences in the details. For example, even though they both sport pretty much the same display, the standard Gram 16 has a matte anti-glare coating and doesn't support touch, while the Gram 16 2-in-1 features Corning Gorilla Glass Victus and supports touch. In addition, the display on the standard Gram 16 can hit a higher max brightness of about 350 nits, while the hybrid 2-in-1 is slightly lower at just 300 nits. And partly because of the slight difference in the finish of the display, the keyboard deck is also actually slightly different between the two. While the keys and layouts are exactly the same, complete with a numpad, you will realize that the keyboard deck is slightly recessed into the frame for the Gram 16 2-in-1. This actually does translate to a slightly flatter typing experience in terms of posture for the 2-in-1. It's a slight difference that you may or may not notice depending on you, but it is there. But now let's talk about the more obvious differences. The port selection on the standard Gram 16 is far superior in our opinion. With both, you get your trusty 3.5mm combo jack, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports via USB-C, a standard USB 3.2 Gen 2 and a micro SD card reader. But on the standard Gram 16, you'll also get HDMI 2.0 and an additional standard USB 3.2 Gen 2. Next will be the weight, and the standard Gram 16 will come in quite a bit lighter at just about 1.2 kilograms or about 2.64 pounds, while the Gram 16 2-in-1 will weigh just shy of 1.5 kilograms or about 3.3 pounds. Which then of course leads us to talking about the design itself. One is a standard clamshell type laptop design, while the other is a hybrid 2-in-1, where you can flip the display over and use it like a tablet. The Gram 16 2-in-1 will also come with the LG Stylus Pen, included with additional nibs for you to jot down all your notes or get creative with drawing. Now, shown here are both the laptops in white and black respectively, but don't go assuming that the colors are mutually exclusive, because they are not. You can get them in either black or white for either variant, so don't worry about that. Ultimately, between the two, it really depends on your use case and what you really want to use the laptop for. And if you have that in mind, you're pretty sure you already kind of have an idea of which is better suited for you. But before we get into that conclusion, we do want to touch upon the performance, because despite both of them having the exact same specifications, there is actually a slight difference. Now, using LG's Smart Assistant, we have access to a few performance and fan profiles, but we'll just focus on the main two, normal and high. So let's start with Cinebench R23, and to note, both the laptops were tested with them in this position, the standard regular using laptop position per se. In both the normal and high profiles, you'll find that the Gram 16 2-in-1 does actually outperform the standard Gram 16 just a little bit, averaging about 5 to 10% faster in multi-core, especially in the high profile setting. While on a normal profile setting, they are pretty much neck and neck. As for DaVinci Resolve, we ran our usual 10-minute 1080p test project, but the trend is opposite here. With the standard Gram 16, we are looking at about 28 minutes and 48 minutes total render time taken in the high and normal profile settings respectively. While on the Gram 16 2-in-1, that would be about 29 minutes and 34 minutes respectively. In this instance, both laptops perform pretty much the same at a high profile setting, but as for the normal profile setting, the Gram 16 2-in-1 outperformed the standard Gram 16 by quite a huge margin. Pretty interesting results, we would say, and after a little bit more testing, all it really boils down to is the kind of performance tuning between the two devices, which are a little bit different. But the Gram 16 2-in-1 does have a trick up its sleeve, well, somewhat. It's the fact that you can put it in a so-called tent mode, which basically frees up the fan and allows it to move as much air as it can. In this mode, Cinebench R23 scores rise yet further, with the multi-core achieving nearly 8000 in a high-profile setting. And as for Resolve, that very same project took just about 21 minutes to render. At the same time, while temperatures don't change that much, still averaging around 80 degrees Celsius under sustained load, the sustained frequency is quite an improvement, jumping from 1.8 GHz to 2.2 GHz for the 4 performance cores and about a 200 MHz improvement for the efficiency cores. But we digress. Such scenarios aren't really that suited for the LG Gram, and it's not really that realistic per se, so let's now talk about gaming instead. At 1080p high settings, you'll find that pretty much both laptops will perform very similarly. You're going to get great frame rates in CSGO and Valorant, while a more demanding game like Genshin Impact will struggle to hit a steady 60 frames per second. For such games, we would definitely recommend dropping it down to medium or low settings instead. Now, if you're thinking that using the Gram 16 2-in-1 in the tent mode will yield higher FPS, well, not really. It's basically pretty much the same. There's only so much you can do with Intel Iris Xe and given the performance tuning on this laptop. Lastly, let's talk about price, and it's probably the most important deciding factor. Spec for spec, the standard Gram 16 will set you back about 2600 Singapore dollars, while the Gram 16 2-in-1 will set you back 2900 Singapore dollars. If you're in the US, the storage option will differ. The standard Gram 16 with 1TB of SSD storage will set you back about $1550, while the Gram 16 2-in-1 with 2TB of SSD storage will set you back just about $2100. The Grams are definitely much more on the premium side of things, especially here in Singapore. To sum it up all really shortly, both laptops perform admirably and they are really enjoyable to use. But the line can be drawn depending on your intended use case. If you just need a no-nonsense laptop that can deliver on all fronts, the standard Gram 16 would be the first choice, not to mention the higher brightness capable display, more ports, and that extreme lightweight for a 16-inch laptop. If you require more performance or perhaps you dabble more into the arts, the Gram 16 2-in-1 would be something more up your alley. After all, it is a 2-in-1. It has a touch display and does come bundled with the pen, and especially for sustained workloads, it does perform better. If you're rendering or exporting something, just leave it in tent mode and you'll get even better performance. On a personal note, I definitely do very much prefer the white color, and if I'm looking at any of the LG Gram series of laptops, white is probably the one I'll choose. But in any case, that was a look at both the LG Gram 16-inch variants in both the standard laptop and the 2-in-1 hybrid. So, if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. If you'd like to, do check out the affiliate links as well. If you do, thanks for the support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Whew, that's a lot. Till the next one. See ya!